Yellow. Yellow is the brightest and most visible color of the spectrum. It's a color that stimulates creativity and the intellectual faculties. Yellow characterizes analytical and critical mind and brings clarity and optimism. Yellow is the color of the sun. Sun is light, power, warmth. Yellow is my childhood. It doesn't mean it was my favorite color. I don't have a favorite color, but it's the only color that makes sense today when thinking about the little me. I fell in love with yellow once. I remember drawing all day, for days, forever, holding a yellow marker in my tiny hand. Maybe it wasn't forever. Maybe it wasn't for days. Maybe it was just one single moment that changed forever my perception and created a remembrance in my mind that might or might not be real. How do we know it's real? I want to be young. I want to remain young. And that means that I need to keep moving, thinking, creating, building, imagining. That means that the solution is not the end of the problem. That means that there is always a new direction to take and new decisions to make. Sometimes we think we got it, and then we realize that it doesn't make sense after all, or maybe not as much sense as it apparently did. We always try to seek a solution, even when things aren't really asking for anything. And perhaps at some point, we may just have changed the question, and the dear answer just becomes obsolete or nonsense. But as it is so dear to us, and eventually became so obvious, it gets hard to reject its relevance even though we subconsciously know that we don't want it anymore. At least not in this situation, not in this moment, not for this purpose, not now. And the answer in this case is simple. Less is more. I am building the special module that will hold the aquarium and has a removable top piece that can slide in and out as needed. I'm using the same material from the previous episode that is called Valchromat, and it's an evolution of the MDF that is colored throughout and a lot more resistant. The joinery is the same, just put joints with glue and nails. In this case, I made a dado to slide the backer board into place and brought it forward into the box just because I thought it might give it a little more stability and would work as a better vertical support for the upper sliding piece. I wanted to keep the same look of the rest of the shelf, so I did my best to make the difference hardly noticeable. I sprayed varnish on all the parts and added a final polyacrylic coat on the yellow module because it is more likely to get in contact with water. Before setting everything in place, I inserted 3 pairs of electrical wires behind the whole shelf inside the channel on the wall into the yellow module. This way I can connect a filter, light and heater, keeping all wiring invisible. I applied a little bit of mineral oil and beeswax blend to the edges of the sliding piece and helped a lot with the friction, but unfortunately also got absorbed by the wood and stained the front edges a little bit. It was time for some soldering and getting the lights working properly. Here I'm using very bright LED strip in 2 color temperatures. I'm experimenting here, so let's see how the plants like it in a few months. I had to remove most of the water to be able to move the aquarium, change the aquascape, and bought a lot more plants that you will see later. Time to work on the door fronts. There were a few possibilities and ended up picking this one. Each door front has a gray inside and yellow outside, so I need to sandwich the two colors together. I cut all the pieces just a little bit oversized so I can trim them later after the glue up. These blocks of wood are working as bow clamps, which means that the face that is being pressed against the material is curved, so when you clamp both sides, pressure is being made along the whole length of the wood block, so you don't need clamps on the middle of your workpiece. I started facing the stairs and made sure to number them to avoid any confusion, because although all boxes are the exact same size, there were some minor differences on each stair measurement. Getting back to the door fronts, everything looked ready to attach some hinges, and I wanted to assemble everything before finishing to see if this was going the right way. I must say I never built a cabinet, drawer, door front, or even applied this kind of hinges before, so I really wanted to try things out as soon as possible during the process. I used the remaining scrap pieces of 16mm gray Velcro mat to make the drawers. I made a zero clearance space for the blade really quickly because my zero clearance insert has the splitters permanently attached, and in this case they would not allow me to do the rabbets for the drawer bottoms. I wanted a quick way to make easy and reasonable sturdy drawers, and by coincidence on that day Jimmy Director released a video making a few drawers for a mobile workstation, and that process looked like just what I wanted, so I assembled mine on a similar way. I know that these gaps are very strange and I should have made the drawer walls lower, but well, this was the first time building drawers, and at this point I just wanted the drawer fronts to be as evenly spaced as possible and everything to look good in the end. That's why I spaced them in this weird way. I used runners that I meant to be clicked to open the drawer once I didn't want any pulls destroying my flat and clean overall look. They were a pain in the butt to set perfectly, and that is most probably because I know nothing about drawer slides and I couldn't find any valuable information online on how to set those in perfect place, but after 2 days of headache I got them almost as good as I wanted them to be. The faces are matching the other door fronts, and the middle one had to be a tiny bit smaller than the other two, but you just notice if you know about it, I guess. I applied some double-sided tape so I could pull the drawer out, clamp the front to the false front, and screw it from the inside. It was finally time to prepare for finishing and disassemble all the fronts and hardware, making sure to identify what should go where. Glued and pin-nailed all the stairs to keep the yellow covers in place while the glue dried. I sanded everything to 240 grit and masked the contents around to minimize the mess produced by the sprayer gun. This is what it looks like now with all fronts in place. I think it turned out really cool and the finish is really soft to the touch and the eyes. I love matte finishes and I think that in this case it was the best option so I don't get much reflections when filming in future videos. The stairs and platform are really sturdy and I don't think I will ever weigh 200 kilos to compromise its stability. And anyway, this isn't meant to last forever. And finally, the removable part on top of the aquarium works really good too and is fairly quick to take on and off. I love the clean and minimal look, and the textures I was thinking of doing would have been too much for this project. Still, I can use that idea later for a small decorative piece or something. This was a great example on how we can change our minds during the building process. Next, I'll be working on a floating desk and probably some sliding doors for the bed. I hope you enjoyed this one and thank you once more for being present. Stick around for part 4 that I think will be the last one, we'll see. Thanks so much for watching guys and I'll catch you later.